Hello. Hello and welcome to the fourth Dev Talks in Cluj. This is the DevOps track, as you well know. We've prepared lots of interesting talks with a broad range of subjects, from using Spring Boot for DevOps practices to measuring continuous deployment pipeline, from orchestrating containers and using Docker in IoT to GraphQL, from end-to-end ownership to Node microservices. We'll also have two great talks about security and scalability. And also two of our speakers will have a panel debate on the DevOps practices. One thing I want to tell all of you is that we'll have a web app. If you need to ask some questions and you think about them during the talk, you can access this app. This app. Okay. It will show up briefly. That URL will be displayed also after the talks, and you'll have access to it. Okay. So you need to go to appworksup.com and use the event ID DevTalks18, and there you can choose the track and the talk on which you can share a question, and we'll see if the time allows us to, we can respond, the speakers will respond to your question live, or afterwards you can find them around. Our first guest for today is Marius Florea, now the business unit manager and head of managed services at Accessa. Marius is the original DevOps practitioner. And what do I mean about that? Well, 10 years ago, he was involved in all phases of application life, from design to development and QA, and to new products introduction and technical support. Let's see his talk on the DevOps culture and future trends.
Hello everyone, I'm Marius. Welcome to DevTalks Cluj, and especially thanks for choosing the DevOps stage. Before moving on with my topic, just please finish the presentation. Before moving on with my topic, I would say a big thank you to our speakers, which today will give us a deep dive journey into the DevOps world. As I saw on the agenda, a lot of technical stuff, but also some cultural stuff. I choose a bit more light topic to start with, but with some areas which I think that are mandatory for any company or any of us which want to start on the DevOps area. Basically, now DevOps it's a buzzword. Everybody knows when you say DevOps, it's well known. Even so, it's not so old as a concept. And I remember a funny story. As Mircea said, a few years ago, probably 2011, 12, when I started to build one of the first team, for sure my first team, but I think that one of the first DevOps teams in Cluj, we published a job advertise with a job title, Linux DevOps. And guess what? For 2 weeks, nobody applied. After that, with HR, we decided to change the job title into Linux System Engineer. And guess what? In 2 weeks, we had around 20 applicants. So at that time, not many people knew what DevOps is, and I'm sure that they didn't even think at what can become. These days, many companies want to adopt it, Many of them do it in the right way. A lot of them doing it just to have the buzzword inside. And this brings also mistakes, I would say, on how it's implemented. If you say DevOps, and especially if you think to launch or to bring DevOps concepts in your organization, I think that there are a few basic things which you have to keep in mind. One of these will be changes. Your organization needs to be ready for changes. You need to think on changing the way you're working. You might have to change the organizational structure, the tool stack, your goals, the values, the people mindset, and so on. Otherwise, if you are not open to do these changes, most probably you will just have something called DevOps, but not working as a DevOps. If it's about to apply these changes in your organization, most probably you will also have to work at the processes. So you need the processes which to support your changes, and even more you need the processes which to enable you to benefit from the value DevOps approach will bring to you. So if you want to benefit from efficiency, autonomy, the DevOps can bring, you need strong processes behind. On the same time, you will have to keep the risk mitigation at a very high level. Therefore, risk management it's needed. Having just processes and being open to changes without working at the people mindset will not work. So inside the organization, everybody needs to understand that they have to collaborate, they have to work as one, and doesn't matter if you are in a technical department or if you are in a business department or if you are, I don't know, an external service provider. If you want to have DevOps by the book, you need to make sure that these people can work and collaborate as one team in the same time by keeping a right accountability and responsibility level. Thing which is not easy, especially when you work with traditional companies. Probably you know very well that changing the mindset is probably the hardest thing. While you have all this, of course, DevOps is about automation, as we will see a lot in the afternoon, especially as I saw on the agenda. So having everything put in place and putting automation on top will really bring you to the efficiency and speed. Most probably your business want to have it, but on the same time, it will keep you safe, and the risk management and the accuracy of your deliverables will be secured. And all this can be made if you have the right tooling in place. So just having some processes without having a support of tooling, and I saw that the next speakers will go even more deep in this tooling. It's mandatory. That's why I think that DevOps is also about switching to a tool-centric culture. So you have everything in place, but everything need to have as a base a stack of tools which to facilitate all the actions. If we look in our companies, on our customer companies, or so how DevOps is today, I choose three main aspects. One, it's very technology driven. So if a new technology or applications appear on the market, it's, let's say, our call as IT people to say, okay, we go for that, we don't go for that, or so. That's right, but I think that in the future will be changed, and we'll see in the next slides why. Another thing is that DevOps was focused now a lot on removing the barriers between the dev and the ops, and actually making these two as working as one team. But I'm not sure if this is enough, or if it's maximum which DevOps can bring into an organization. And the last thing I choose to show is that a lot of companies are still having the traditional support in place. So basically, first level support, second level support, third level support with no connection between them, and also no connection between them and development. And this is really good for predictability and for stability of the existing systems, but really, really slow down the innovation and the speed. And Gartner named in the last documents they released this as being the IT mode 1. And we will see what's the mode 2 a few slides later. If you ask me, I think that tomorrow, and I'm saying tomorrow, it's the near future. So really the near future, if you want to keep up the speed with DevOps, DevOps will become really business driven. So if you will have to make the decision or if you adopt the technology or not, you will have to really show what's the business value. Otherwise, most probably it will not happen in the organization. And in new organization, it's easy, might look like it is now, but in the big enterprise organization with the old traditional style, this is a big challenge. Convince your IT department that the decision it's actually on the business hand. So if you're producing bulbs, for example, you will need to show how your application is helping the bulbs production. Otherwise, on the second thing is that DevOps will expand. So until now, DevOps was a lot about development and ops. Going forward, and we can see on the market already a lot of opportunities where DevOps will expand into infrastructure and operations organizations, which seeing that DevOps is much more agile and more efficient than the classical support, they start to adopt DevOps, building team structure similar as you have in a Scrum team, creating similar roles, and trying to make the very rigid and standard ITIL more agile, and actually trying to benefit much more from the speed and from the efficiency a DevOps model can bring. Personally, I think that this will be a really good business in the next 5-7 years, especially on the big enterprise companies. During the time, the traditional support will decrease in companies as volume, will not disappear because we still have to keep our lights on the existing services, but while the DevOps adoption will increase, this will bring a lot of speed and innovation inside the companies, and this was called by Gartner as being IT mode 2, and combining the mode 2 and mode 1, the traditional with DevOps, if you ask me what the balance should be, it's hard to say, but probably a 30-70, it's optimum, will actually be the key for companies to keep up the pace with innovation, have a good speed in delivering, but in the same time keeping their products, their running products, stable and predictable. In my view, in the end, DevOps it's about being open to a change of culture and mindset, while you have the support of tools and processes for increasing the business value. It started as being very technology related, but it's moving more and more on the business side. And that will be the engine which will bring DevOps further in many, many organizations. That was it. I kept it short. I'm not sure if we have time for any questions.
Yeah, we might have time for 1 or 2 questions if anybody in the audience feels that he needs some clarification, or if not, we seem to have one question in the app. Marius, currently, do you have any position in your company that have DevOps in their title?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
And I think that if you ask around in companies, not just in Cluj, but around, 99% are having it. And the reason it's simple because it's such a buzzword that if you want to be on the market, even if DevOps is not a market, if you take it by the book, you need to be there with a buzzword. DevOps is a buzzword. It's probably the most powerful marketing tool the service delivery companies can have at the moment.
At the moment, right. Anybody else? Any questions for Marius? If not,
there is one thing I want to mention, speaking about, because I saw some reactions when I said that DevOps will go more on the infrastructure and operations area. Later this year, we will start a series of meetups called InfraCon. Will be meetups fully oriented on infrastructure topics, and the goal will be to see how this infrastructure will fit into the big picture. The idea came from one of my colleagues, Mircea. And if you will be interested in these topics, we are looking forward to see you there. Probably starting with August, we will start to advertise. So please join us if it's in your interest.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marius.